Ayo, it's Retro, and welcome to my comic video. So, today I want to talk about the From the Ashes era for the X-Men right now. I'm a huge fan of the X-Men. I've been reading them for almost my entire life. And I love this current era, I'm not gonna lie to you. Now, what is From the Ashes? From the Ashes is what spun out from the fall of X of the Krakoan Age. The Krakoan Age was spearheaded by Jonathan Hickman and Jordan D. White, and some point along the way, Jonathan Hickman left, and that kind of ushered in the Destiny of X era of the Krakoan Age, which I will be 100% honest with you, that was one of my favorite eras of the Krakoan Age. Almost every book I was heavily enjoying. Vidya Ayala and Rod Rice were writing New Mutants still. They're finishing up the Trials of Magic arc. We also had Sword, which came out a little bit before Destiny of X. And then that led into X-Men Red, which was written by Al Ewing and drawn by Stefano Caselli. And this saw the plot point of what was going on with the Racco on Mars. It was following Storm, Roberto da Costa, and a little bit of Abigail Brand. It was a phenomenal book. You also had Immortal X-Men by Kieran Gillen and Lucas Wernick. Also spearheaded Judgment Day and Sins of Sinister. Kieran Gillen was killing it during this era of the Krakoan Age. You also had Sabretooth by Victor LaValle and Leonard Kirk, which followed up by Sabretooth and the Exiles. Destiny of X was an amazing era. I loved it. Genuinely, some of the best X-Men comics were coming out during this time. This all led into Fall of X, which attempted to wrap everything that Jonathan Hickman, Pepe Larraz, R.B. Silva, and Marte Gracia were setting up in House of X / Powers of 10. And this ending was mainly going through Fall of the House of X and Rise of Powers of 10. And these two books couldn't be more different. However, they both had the same sentiment. They felt very rushed. And I'm gonna be real, I was not messing with that at all. Then that led into X-Men 700, which wrapped everything up completely and led us into From the Ashes. And I can't lie, a lot of these books have been intriguing to me. I've loved almost all of them. And what is coming later excites me even more. There's so much diversity in these books. Not only in the pages, but outside of the pages. All of these books are some of the most diverse the X-Men team has been. Not the people who are in the books, but people who are writing them and drawing them. I am extremely excited to see Eve Ewing, a black woman, writing a flagship X-Men. We also have Ayodele, who is writing Storm alongside Lucas Wernick, who is drawing the book. And the book isn't out yet, but every single preview has been phenomenal. They keep teasing so much from this book, and it just seems to be the book where Storm is going to shine the most, and I love that for her. We also have Jason Liu writing Dazzler. You have Jeffrey Thorne writing X Factor, and while I'm not the biggest fan of Jeffrey Thorne, I still think it's important to have more people of different shades writing these books. You also have Saladin Ahmed, who's writing Wolverine. He gets Wolverine so well, and I cannot wait to see where it's going to go. You also have Alyssa Wong, who is writing Psylocke. You have Gail Simone writing another flagship X-Men book, Uncanny X-Men. It's insane. In history's past for the X-Men, it was very hard to find someone who wasn't a white male writing X-Men comics. And while that's not a big issue because a lot of them have written some of the best X-Men comics ever, I do think that when you're talking about writing a team that's facing discrimination and oppression, it would be nice to have writers who have come from that struggle of dealing with discrimination, dealing with oppression, who know of that struggle. Chris Claremont, Grant Morrison, all of these writers who have written X-Men before, they understood the mutant metaphor. They understood oppression. Some cases they were a little bit too intentional, and I feel like someone who looks like me, someone who is black, who is brown, people who come from different cultures, they would understand that struggle a lot better, and it would come off a lot more natural. It means a lot to me that a lot of these writers now aren't just cis straight white men. It's a huge deal to me. I love it. And it's not just the fact that we have a diverse line of creatives, but they're also very talented creatives. Eva Ewing wrote Ironheart, which is one of my favorite books I've read in the last few years. She has a lot of heart. She has a lot of soul in her writing. Saladin Ahmed, again, like I've said before, wrote one of the best Miles Morales runs. I absolutely adored it. And he's also writing Daredevil right now. They're amazing. Another huge point that's been striking to me during this era is that there are so many solos, and they follow people who definitely should have had solos like a long time ago. Magic is getting a solo series. Laura Kinney is getting another solo series. We're getting a time slide one shot following Cable and Bishop. I love Bishop. He's one of my favorite X-Men of all time. And after his showing in Children of the Vault, cannot wait to see what else he has in store. I hope he does get more to do after this though. We have Sentinels by Alex Pagnato and Justin Mason. You go down the list of all these books that are coming out right now. X-Men by McKay and Stegman, led by Scott Summers, but heavily featuring Temper, Psylocke, Quentin Quire, even Juggernaut, which is an interesting pick right now. He's not a mutant, but he does add an interesting element to the X-Men as they're helping these new mutants that are being born at an unusual age. And the press is saying that it's a contagion. Excellent book. You also have Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly writing Nyx right now, which is following mutants in New York and how they're dealing with the fallout of Krakoa. And at first I wasn't hooked. I'm gonna be real, at first I wasn't hooked. I thought it was a little bit too safe. And then issue 3 came out and I see where this book is going. Prodigy is a huge standout. I've been seeing the previews for the upcoming issues and he's gonna be a vigilante, which is awesome. We also have Annalee, who is fully embracing his Krakoan culture. And again, that's another thing that's awesome. These books aren't leaving the Krakoan age. They're not saying that the Krakoan age didn't happen. They're just moving forward. Krakoa was an incredible success. I loved seeing mutants have their own island, but it did get stale. When you have your flagship X-Men book not really hitting that ceiling that it should, when it's following up Jonathan Hickman and the book at best is popcorn superhero comics, I just don't know what we're doing here anymore. You can have Al Ewing, you can have Kieran Gillen, you can have Victor Laval, Vidya Ayala, you can have these interesting creatives surrounding them trying to make up for that. But when you have a mediocre flagship book, it kind of sours the entire line, because where is that single vision coming from? Because there wasn't after a certain point. There just wasn't. When your architect leaves, you know, that's just it, really. I'm gonna be real, From the Ashes has been, I feel like, the most polarizing the X-Men has been in a long time. I see so much negativity around it, and really, I just wanted to bring some positivity. These books aren't leaving Krakoa in the sense where it didn't happen. It would have been so easy for Marvel to just reboot the mutants. It would have been so easy for them to do that, but they didn't. And now we're at a point where the X-Men are like, okay, what are we gonna do now? We had this paradise, we had this culture. How do we move on? And we're seeing the fallout of that. We're seeing Scott Summers lead, and he's having a hard time because he had that paradise. He had that dream fulfilled. And he's been leading the X-Men in such a militant way. Now he's tired. We have Storm, who is the voice of the galaxy. Still is. She was not really the leader of Arakko, but she was trying to guide them in the way where they wanted to, instead of lead them as a queen. Now she's come back to Earth and we're seeing what she's picked up from that time. How is she going to help the mutants in America? We also have Avengers 2, which is heavily starring Storm. We also had a previous issue where Storm, Quentin Quire, and Scott Summers were helping the Avengers. I think this era is really showing how the X-Men can be reintegrated into the Marvel Universe. Not to say that they were completely separate, but for a long time, they were kind of separate, and Krakoa did kind of separate them even more. They were by themselves. And while they should be left alone, I'm not saying that the X-Men should be oppressed all the time. Obviously not, I don't want that. But I do think that there is merit in telling a story where they come back from that paradise. There's drama there. There are people who are reeling from those repercussions. When you say we were gods and then you fail, that's a hard thing to come back from. And you see Kitty Pryde dealing with that in Exceptional X-Men. She's dealing with the fact that there's so much pressure on the X-Men. There's so much pressure on the mutants. Now that they're back, how do they come back from that? How do they move on? And we see Kitty Pryde just trying to live a normal life. You see that she's hiding almost. When I talked about it's a lot more natural for Black people to write about discrimination, we see that in Exceptional X-Men, how easy it is for Kitty Pryde to hide because of the privilege that she has. She has very much white privilege, and in this case, it's more human passing privilege. So she's able to hide. And she talks about that in Exceptional X-Men. It's a huge point. And she uses that privilege to then help another mutant whose powers just manifest. It's a wonderful book. I love Exceptional X-Men. I've been a huge fan of Eve Ewing for years, and I've been wanting for this big break for her, and I hope this is that. I also talk about that a little bit in my Gatecrashers review. I'm going to link that in my description. When I talk about pound for pound, all the quality of these books, there really isn't a bad book. It's strange for me to say that coming off of Krakoa, because I was scared. I was genuinely scared when From the Ashes was starting. But seeing all of these creatives come on, I think Tom Brevoort brought on a whole slew of amazing talent. And I'm praying that these books have lasting power. And they're good. To me, if your worst book is a Mark Russell X Factor that is kind of just doing 90s X Factor in a nostalgic way, and Jeffrey Thorne's X-Force, which it's not bad, it's just not the best. It could be better, but it's not bad at all. I think you're in a good place. A lot of these books are very much like A grade. I think that all of the negativity surrounding it is very overblown. I know we all miss the Krakoan age, and mutants having their own paradise is a wonderful thing, but we can get back to that when they figure out a way to do it better. Jericho kind of was the better way, but having Mr. Sinister on the Quiet Council is not a wonderful idea. I'm gonna be real. The Quiet Council was made to fall, and to me, if you read House of X and Powers of 10, I've read it a bunch of times. This whole thing was meant to blow up, and per certain interviews, it was going to blow up a lot sooner than it actually did. So I don't know. From the Ashes has been, to me, a very fun era. I love the X-Men. I love Chris Claremont's X-Men run. I even enjoyed the 90s a whole lot, and a lot of people don't. And everything from Messiah Complex through Bendis's Uncanny X-Men, to me, was great. To me, this is just another era where we're getting a lot of books that are just very good. They're very good books. Give them a chance. I think they're really good. So, I don't know. I'm just trying to be positive. I see too much negativity around these books. I think that just giving them a chance. If you miss the Krakoan age that much, I get it. But, we're kind of not there anymore. And you can kind of dwell in the past, and, you can do that, and you can just keep rereading those books. But I care about these characters. I love these characters, and I want to continue seeing them through. And as long as we're getting interesting creatives, I'm going to be reading X-Men. I don't care. So if y'all made it this far, I appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment what you want me to talk about next. I am going to do a video where I talk about the end of Krakoa and my thoughts on Krakoa as a whole, because I feel like I have a very different opinion on Krakoa, even though I loved it while it was running. So I'll catch y'all in the next one.